Sinibingelele sinamukele kulesi siqephu se-expressions khona lapho ngqa phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. We are coming to you live and direct from our Oakland Park studios khona la SABC eGoli. Nationality in the arts and sports is our focus this week. Indaba yobuzwe mbukeli ibiloku ingundaba mlonyeni muva nje, especially with the Miss SA pageant that took place over the weekend and of course the Olympics that are currently happening in Paris right now. Namhlanje ohlelweni siyabuza ukuthi what does it mean to be truly South African? Are we as South Africans xenophobic ngempela na? Mina igama lami ngo-Azaria wakwaKhoza. Kodwa ke I'm not rolling solo. The brightest star in the galaxy is right here with me. How are you, Madlongoti?
Say my name again.
The brightest star in the galaxy.
Nonkanyezi. Thank you so much, Azaria. Yes, Mbugeli, Dimlo Nonkanyezi Kalubisi Umadlombegoti, and that's the topic for tonight. But before we start the show, we would like to say congratulations to our newly crowned Miss SA, Sidangaika Loko Umia Leru. Notable Mbugeli, she is the deaf person to win the title. Kora Chogaman, Mashabules Fingek Lomboniso.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Halala. Yeah.
Hey, wena noba sithi congratulations, but singatsho wena mbukela bekhaya into kubana ingxoba kaxaka ezixaka umxhaka. That is the debate that has been raging for the past few weeks. The Miss SA pageant at the organization came under a lot of scrutiny after Chidimma Adetshina was shortlisted to be part of the Miss SA pageant. Abantu abaninzi wena Azaria nawe mbukeli sibonile kumakhasi onxibelelwano into kubana oko bembuza into kubana usukaphi, what are her roots, with some South Africans, questioning whether she was a South African, where is she really coming from? As the row Mbukeli escalated and the investigation took place, the Department of Home Affairs did announce that their probe into her citizenship found evidence that her mother could have possibly committed identity fraud. That was year 2001. Well, Adetshina unfortunately did withdraw from the Miss SA competition pageant, fearing for her safety.
Sibonile Kholosa, it's been a roller coaster. Kodwa ke mbukeli siphumile saya emgwaqeni yaseGoli to find out imibono yabantu abasha ngalolu daba, and this is what young people had to say.
According to my opinion, I think we're a little bit harsh on her as an African.
We do have an immigration problem in South Africa, and unfortunately she's going to be scapegoated for all the institutional problems that we are facing in the country. So it's unfortunate that she's going through it, but at the same time, I think this is just catalyzing the fact that we need to have this debate.
South Africans, we need to get right. We are all Africans. We can't judge her purely based off the fact that her parent is from Nigeria or something like that. So I think it was a unfair call.
You not allow people from other countries to come and take those kind of positions from the very people who are from this country. Like, there are citizens in this country who could actually go and qualify for that position that she went for.
So the problem really for me stems from how do you then let a person that you are not clear on terms of their nationality come into a contest like this, I think it should have been due diligence from the department side in terms of clarifying the issue before it comes to the public domain. Because in the public domain, we deal with opinions and they are often uneducated.
Interesting views coming from young people on the streets, but Chidimma's case is not a unique. In fact, right about now, when Azaria now Mbukele Bekaya, we wanted to take a look, at other people whose citizenships and nationalities have been questioned before. Yabona, ndiyafuna siqale wena Azaria ngumongameli wangaphambili uBarack Obama.
Yeah, uzokhumbula nawe Mbukeli lapha ekhaya ukuthi in 2008 Mr. Barack Obama, when he was running for presidency, there were probes into his citizenship. citizenship ukuthi kahle kahle where is he from, uzokhumbula ukuthi ubabakhe is originally from Kenya, so a lot of people felt that he was not American enough to be umongameli wase-America.
And another interesting thing with what you were saying, I mean, they were questioning, I mean, his originality, not knowing that actually Barack Obama, you know, was born in Kenya. And I mean, Barack Obama was born in the state of Honolulu,
In
Hawaii, United
in
States.
America,
But although originality yakhe iyamchaza into yoba ingcambu zakhe zezalapha eMzantsi Afrika. I mean, Africa.
Africa now. All right, we also, you know, this case is not unique. We also saw Lydia Bologun. Now, this was Miss Nigeria, who was selected to go and represent in Nigeria abroad at Miss Aura pageant, right? Where all beauty pageant queens from around the world, you know, they gathered, they converged to competing. But some of the Nigerians, they did not accept her. Some of them, they were saying that she's very light in complexion to be Nigerian.
The colorism issue, I believe, Azaria, you know, njengoba siqhubeka nenkqubo, you know, probably will have a conversation on colorism, because it's also another huge factor that is happening in the country.
It's also happening in the sports world, Mbukeli. Ake sibukele ukuthi imibono yenu ithini ngezemidlalo.
When you talk about sports now, soccer, for example, you're going to buy a player from Mozambique, Zimbabwe, to come play for a team. But you cannot take a player from Zimbabwe to come play for South Africa. Like Miss South Africa, like the word is self-explanatory. Miss South Africa, you have to be a South African citizen. Same applies with soccer. You cannot play for South Africa while you're a Zimbabwean, while you're a Mozambican.
Even in sports, we do have those people, and they came and make a difference. Like they are role models, actually. Let me put it on that way.
Well, I think the issue is documentation and proper and making sure that those players, when they come into the country, they are vetted by the SAFA. They are vetted by the particular teams in which they're going to play for. So I think due processes are followed when it comes to that issue. This issue is different in which where, you know, the frustration of society led to an investigation, right? It is not an issue of being sexist and so forth. South Africans just want to live in a society in which the law is followed. And I feel in this particular manner, the law was followed.
Interesting views coming from Imigwaqeni yaseJozi, with young people essentially giving us their input into this topic. Namhlanje, Nato Chamane joins me to also further discuss this issue. Welcome to Expressions, Butwam.
Thank you, Azaria. A very good afternoon, and a very good afternoon to all the viewers.
Yeah. All right. So we saw, you know, what was happening with Miss SA and the whole conflict with people, you know, questioning the identity ga Chidimma. You know, how prevalent is this in the sports world?
Look, this is a scenario where you can't break it down with yes or no answer because of how complex and how unique some of the situations you find around this whole scenario. For an example, if you talk about a player like Zinedine Zidane, he was born in France. He won the World Cup with France in 1998, but his father is from Algeria. And then you get a player like Patrick Vieira, who is from Senegal, who was born in Senegal, left Senegal when he was 8 years. He was part of the 1998 France winning squad. Yeah. Now, in sport, it's a scenario where if you are representing a country because you were born there, you represent it because of birth. It's allowed. You are eligible to play. Yeah. But he could have also opted to go and play for the Algerian national football team because of, you know, his father's native land. Yeah. So it's a broad scenario like that. And it's a scenario where we shouldn't be perspicacious. We shouldn't be quick to judge. Yeah. Because, for an example, if you take your Miss South Africa scenario, where we get mention of a Nigerian father, a Mozambican mother, but yet she was born in South Africa. Yeah. Imagine a scenario where she goes to Nigeria and they say, no, you were not born here. And she goes to Mozambique and then they say, hey, you were not born here. Okay. So we have an African who does not belong to anywhere because of, you know, possibilities of scenarios. Yeah.
So I just want to ask you, do you think that as South Africans, you know, all the bashing on Twitter and social media, were they harsh towards her?
I think they were harsh because you can't handle a scenario on a cream of the cake kind of a level. You've got to go to the ingredients that made that cake, you know, and leave the cake alone, because at the end of the day, this scenario goes deeper than just bashing on social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if we were to do a thorough research, even people who are in ministries, you would find that some of them are not even of South African origin, yet they are representing the country at an elite level. So it's a scenario where we've got to rather prioritize the continent versus the country, because if you get Europeans coming to Africa, if Azaria comes from Spain and I come from Portugal and someone else comes from UK, when we get here, we are white brothers from Europe. You are not Spanish, I'm not Belgian, and the other one is not from the UK. But with Africans, we start pointing, this one is Zimbabwe, and this one is Mozambique,
so there is
this
a
one
bit
is
of
Nigeria.
So there's a bit of Afrophobia within us as Africans.
Good knowledge.
Hayi ke mbukeli hlala la ukhona siyaqhubeka ngale ngxoxo uma sibuya eyitolo ungayindawo siyabuya.
Welcome back, Mbugeli. Usabugele inkqubo yakho ithandayo yabantu abatsha, expressions. And yes, we are still talking about nationality. What does it mean to be truly South African? How does a real South African look like? Sikubuzile apho kaloku on the ground, and this is what you had to say. Right, Mbugeli, sike satsho kaloku into yokubana nisibhalele nakumakhasi ethu enxibelelwano sive into yokubana nithini kanye. But before we get someone who is from another country, I'll just read this first comment from Mbekezela Mkhwanazi. Mbekezela is saying, is there a word that can be used to describe someone who hates his own skin? We have people who are half European representing this country in the Olympics, but no one talks about it. This is black on black hate. And speaking about black on black hate, you know, I would love to have someone on who's going to be joining us, you know, Efonini, you know, Akasixelele Banzi, because I mean, he is from a different country, yet he is representing, you know, South Africa in one of the university, you know, as part of the SRC. His name is Jabu Sithole. Jabu, all the way from Swaziland. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes, thank you so much for having me as well. I hope you're well.
Yeah, you are very much well. I mean, we are talking about, you know, a thought-provoking issue here, the issue of nationality. And I mean, we've seen with Chidimma's case, and you relate so much better because, I mean, you are all the way from Swaziland. And I mean, you've taken up a role in your university. You are part of the RCC. And I really want to know, Indokbana, with your journey, did you receive or experience any criticism or discrimination because, you know, awusuki apa eMzantsi Afrika?
Thank you for the question. You know, funny enough, whenever I tell my friends, the people that I'm from Eswatini, they're normally fascinated instead of being xenophobic. I think they take me as one of their own somehow, and I would maybe say it's because of the reason that there's a province of the country where the people there are predominantly Swati as well, which is in Mpumalanga. So whenever I tell people that I'm also a foreigner, to them it seems far-fetched. So I haven't really experienced that much xenophobia in my journey in the country.
Yeah, and I mean, we have Miss SA, I mean, Oyewa Entarisha competition, Chidimma Adetshina for Miss SA, and she has received a lot of criticism. And I mean, even celebrities, you know, that went out on social media to say, you know what, we are in support of Chidimma. They were dragged down. What does it mean? Are we xenophobic as a country? Is it black on black hate? Ithini le nto kuwe?
You know, that one is quite a sad story because if you look into the story, by the time the mother got the documents of citizenship for the girl, she was a minor.
Yeah.
So according to her, growing up, I would assume she did think that she's South African. And I'm assuming the competition had all the guidelines that were necessary for you to actually join.
Yeah.
And I know part of those guidelines stipulate that she's supposed to be South African. And again, I would assume as far as she knew, she was South African. But then again, it is quite sad. And it goes to say that South Africans maybe do feel as though she's not South African enough, as was mentioned by the previous speaker. She is African and she grew up in the country. We should take her as South African. But nonetheless, having seen that the document says she's not from the country, I think then that makes sense. But the comments were too harsh. they do speak towards the idea of Afrophobia.
Yeah, and with that said, I just want to read a few comments coming on social media because, I mean, this is a question of debate. I mean, what does it really mean to be South African? And before maybe uthi ungum South African, should you not consider maybe being an African? And I just want to take this one from Sizabantu Kumede. Uthi, the big question is, was Nigeria going to accept a woman born from a South African man to go and represent Nigeria at Miss World? Africans need to fix and upgrade their own countries instead of always running to South Africa. We have problems of our own. Ndiqinisekile nawe uyayiva lo comment, and you know, I just want to get something from you because elections are coming up, you know, up at University for the SRC, I beg your pardon, but I want to know, do you have any fears, or maybe because now there's this movement of dragging anyone down who is not South African, do you think maybe this will have any effect on you being elected, you know, to be part of the SRC?
You know, honestly, the fears are there. And what we've seen as a trend is that what happens nationally tends to spill on the ground as well. I mean, before we get to the ground, we've already seen through social media that other people are being called out already for their nationality. So I didn't see it happening as well throughout the elections. But, I mean, at the end of the day, it is sad because with the elections, we are going for these positions because we want to serve South Africans. We want to get in positions where we can help people, guide people better. Hence, we run for these things, which then again makes me say it's sad that we get to go through this when we as well are trying to be of value to the country and lend a helping hand. So the fear is there, definitely.
And I do get you on that one, Jabu, because, I mean, you have the passion and you do feel that, I mean, you have the necessary skills to exercise your purpose in leadership. But unfortunately, because maybe non-South African, then, before we go to the ad break, you know, I'd love to read one last comment from you, Abo Ekaya, and that is coming from Guguletu Ncube. Guguletu says, South Africans are scared of competition. Sure. Foreigners' successes or success doesn't sit well with them and it turns them xenophobic. Mtawara represented the box with no trace of both parents to be South African and won World Cups with the box, but no one spoke about it. This comment reminds me of a quote from Imbonizuleza saying that an enemy of a black person is the enemy nyani yomntu omnyama. Thank you so much for joining us, Jabu. We wish you the very best in the elections coming up. But we do continue with the conversation. Make sure that you do get in touch with us. Right about now, you're watching Expressions.
Siphinde sikwamukele mbukeli we-Expressions uma ngabe usanda ngena woza hlala phansi namhlanje mbukeli sikhuluma about nationality ubuzwe, you know, who are we as South Africans, and umbuzo sobuzayo uthi mbukeli, are South Africans xenophobic na? And still joining me right now is Ubutneto Chamane. So before we went to an ad break, you know, on the other side there was a comment that stated Utendai, who has been playing with the Springboks, and you know, he has went out there to represent the country. They've won a World Cup multiple times, you know, but no one seems to say a thing. So now someone might bring a notion of sexism when it comes to this thing. Uguti, we do get players that come from Mozambique, coming from Ivory Coast. They come over to play for Kaizer Chiefs, Sundowns, and Pirates, and all the other teams. But no one seems to say anything. But now, this case now, why is it so special?
Look, it's a scenario that comes with a whole lot of contributory factors. I'll take you to the Olympics as an example. There's a lady called Winfred Yavi from Kenya. Originally from Kenya, she was born in Kenya. She tried to compete under the umbrella and colors of Kenya, but because of she was citing stiff competition in the middle distance scene, and then she opted to relocate to Bahrain. And then Bahrain welcomed her with open arms. And now she's the winner of the 3,000-meter steeplechase.
Wow.
So you see, you can never say it is because of this reason. There's contributory reasons.
Yeah.
And when we zoom into African sport, you realize that there's a whole lot of admin nightmares.
Yeah.
In 2021, there's another lady who is a hammer thrower who won the silver medal in the recently concluded Paris Olympics under the colors of USA, Annette Chikunoke. You know, and she tried tried to compete under Nigeria in 2021, and then she got to Tokyo and she couldn't compete. And she cited negligence by Athletics Federation of Nigeria. So can you see the reasons that are triggering movements of these players and athletes? But also, Azaria, sport as a career is a very short career.
Yeah.
So if you have an opportunity to go make money somewhere else, are you going to go for patriotism versus making money, and then
you rather go where
and then
you're
when
gonna
your
be
career
accepted.
comes to an end, then Neto and Azaria comes and say, yeah, he didn't look after his money properly, he didn't spend it wisely. Whereas there's a whole lot of reasons that are triggering these things. Kazakhstan, the contingent that went to Paris, it included ex-Kenyan athletes, and they promised gold winners a prize of $250,000 which is about 4.5 million rands. Whereas in Kenya in 2021, they promised gold winners 8,000 rands.
Wow.
Or $8,000, which is about 146,000. So can you see the difference?
The difference. And also, Mbugeli, you might know, Uguti, in 2001, we had Miss SA which was Vanessa Carrera. She was half Portuguese and half Angolan. But
where was social media at that time?
In 2001,
This is a heated debate. I wish we can have a part 2 because we need to both acknowledge zonke izinto zabantu. But Mbugeli, asikushiwe, maybe spiritual identity is the answer. Umthakathi Kush is standing by with Mthandazo. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Let's go. Shoot. Amelela mona wabino. Barito ya halana camino. Asambe. Ungari halana camino. Ati asambe. Halana camino. Let's go. Amelela mani wami. So kumelela iswami. Edonge tu sinigiwe. So kuyasasa amanye amandla mabelela mngane wami so kumelela iswa ngami edongethu sinikiwe so kuyasasa ngamanye amandla. Let's go. Oh Nkosi iswa imithandazo yabantwana bakho yehlisa umoya wakho wempumelelo iswa imithandazo yabantwana hawe Nkosi sikelela asabe iswa imithandazo yabantwana hawe yehlisa umoya wakho lapho emakhaya asabe iswa imithandazo yabantwana hawe Nkosi sikelela. Shoot. Barito ya halana camino. Shoot. Ungari halana camino. Barito ya halana camino. Ame masika ya fano. Kambe shitabu ya shipambo. Jale robu ya rifambo. Kambe ritabu ya michango. Hai, masika ya fano. Kambe shitabu ya shipambo. Jale robu ya rifambo. Thank you so much. Sigana isililo uthini youngster liyokhala nini ngicilo uzosixolela zonke lezono owasala kunzima kunjani ngomso asambe inyembezi ngabi namandla emihleni bathini nosathane athukuthela jikenzele steli njabule ngapheli nomisukeni imindeni thando lakho lushane bathi baba steli njabule ngapheli one asambe 2 1 2 1 2 3 let's go. izwa imithandazo yabantwana bakho ehlisa umoya wakho wemfanelo izwa imithandazo yabantwana bakho Nkosi sikelela asabe sikelela oh sikelela
Thank you so much.